Sunny Hostin's husband has been accused of federal insurance fraud in a new lawsuit. He is one of 200 defendants named.
The View co-host Sunny Hostin finds herself at the center of a media storm as her husband drops a bombshell announcement that has left fans speechless.
And they're talking about threatening him with insurance fraud. I would say you could get about 20 years in prison, so that's a death sentence for him.
The power couple, admired for their seemingly unshakable bond, now faces questions and speculation about what went wrong. Whispers of tension, secrets, and unexpected revelations threaten to unravel their picture-perfect image. Is this the end of Sunny's love story, or is there more to this shocking revelation than meets the eye? The bombshell that rocked everyone. News exploded across every major outlet when Dr. Emmanuel Hostin, a long-respected orthopedic surgeon, found himself at the center of a massive federal insurance fraud scandal. People were in disbelief because this wasn't just another unknown physician getting caught in a small-time problem. This was a high-profile practitioner linked to Sunny Hostin, a well-known TV personality and legal analyst who regularly appears on one of the most popular daytime shows, The View. The headlines came thick and fast, painting a stark picture that seemed almost unreal. Yet, it was real, and it shook both the medical community and daytime television fans to their core. Audiences who had only seen Sunny and Emmanuel in pictures at red carpet events or had heard about their picture-perfect life were now faced with a far messier situation. There was no easy way to explain how this crackdown happened, nor was there a way to pretend it was some small hiccup. The authorities had called it one of the largest federal RICO cases ever filed in New York, which immediately sparked intense debates on every platform imaginable. It was labeled federal insurance fraud, with Dr. Hostin right in the thick of it. Sunny Hostin's involvement, at least in a public sense, was just as striking. She had built a personal brand on her background as a former federal prosecutor and her fearless stance on matters of legal and social justice. Seeing that upright stance, brought into question by her own husband's alleged wrongdoing, made for must-see headlines. Nobody could deny the shock value. People wondered if she would defend her husband in the same way she had critiqued public figures in her professional life. The immediate response from the public was confusion. Many fans of The View had always admired the Hostin family's unity, including Sunny's frequent praises of her husband's skill and her pride in his dedication to his patients. One moment, she was a star on television who discussed important issues in a calm, logical manner. The next, she was facing reporters who demanded answers about an indictment that seemed to contradict everything she stood for. The story only grew hotter when it was revealed that Dr. Hostin and Sunny Hostin had already hired two lawyers, Mark Gargos and Daniel T.H.S. These names weren't ordinary run-of-the-mill defense attorneys. They were known for taking on complex cases involving allegations of financial crimes. The fact that they were stepping in suggested that this was not just an inconvenient rumor, it was serious business. The swirling chatter about possible prison time, assets getting frozen, and reputations hanging in the balance gave the public a sense of how massive this case really might be. Around those early days of the scandal, nobody could escape the chatter, whether in the halls of TV studios or in the waiting rooms of Emmanuel's medical practice. Some insisted he was innocent, while others believed the mounting evidence would prove otherwise. The tension was enough to keep people glued to every update. Everyone wanted to know how the once-famed surgeon had landed in such dramatic trouble and what it meant for Sunny's professional future. Some folks speculated that this was going to end in a massive court showdown that would test the boundaries of trust and morality in the Hostin household. Others guessed it would blow over, but no matter how they spun it, the facts and the scale of the allegations were far too enormous to ignore. Emmanuel Hostin's road to the spotlight. Before this scandal broke out, Dr. Emmanuel Hostin was mainly known in a few circles. orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, and perhaps among fans of The View who recognized him as Sunny Hostin's husband. His reputation in the medical field was one of top-tier skill and surprising humility. Colleagues often referred to him as someone who genuinely cared about his patients, never hesitated to share knowledge, and dedicated himself to proper medical practices. In interviews or social media posts featuring him, he usually appeared calm and confident, staying away from the limelight Sunny inhabited. His background was not typical for someone who might be associated with a massive insurance fraud. He had worked under well-known mentors, served in reputable hospitals, and even traveled for disaster relief missions. If there was one key word people often used for him, it was devoted. Some described him as a perfectionist who refused to take shortcuts and insisted on doing things the right way. This made it all the more confusing when his name appeared front and center in legal documents involving shady billing procedures and inflated insurance claims. Emmanuel often treated athletes, including some top-tier talents, and had a track record of successful surgeries. Publications and local TV stations occasionally ran stories about him tackling hard injuries and helping folks recover faster than expected. He had also contributed to philanthropic causes, whether by supporting free clinics or by donating to research programs aimed at advancing orthopedics. Enhancing sports careers and helping older adults improve mobility were part of his daily routine. Nothing in his past suggested that he was the type to pocket money illicitly. However, the bright pages of his professional life were shattered when the lawsuit details became public. People started to ask whether he had cultivated a secret double life. Others tried to figure out how a man who once volunteered for medical missions overseas could get wrapped up in allegations that he had raked in money through unethical insurance claims. There were rumors that he was only part of a bigger ring, but those rumors soon turned into direct reports from federal prosecutors who labeled him a significant player if the details were correct. Close friends and patients rushed to defend him at first, saying there was no way he would break the law so blatantly. They believed his reputation as an honest surgeon overshadowed any attempts to link him to a major crime. But as more information came out, it got harder to ignore. Investigators uncovered paper trails that connected him to suspicious billing statements. Some said these statements were processed through shell companies, while others believed they were hidden inside complex networks of medical service providers. Whichever explanation turned out to be true, the simple reality was that Emmanuel Hostin's life and career were under an intense spotlight that no honest surgeon would ever want. Behind the scenes of the insurance fraud. As the days went on, legal documents became front-page news. The lawsuit, filed by federal prosecutors, portrayed a carefully crafted network of medical professionals who manipulated the insurance system to increase revenue. They allegedly submitted false claims for procedures that either never took place or were exaggerated in detail and cost. The structure was described as sprawling, with various connections tracing back to high-level heads in the medical community. Some individuals even believed it was organized crime at its finest, combining sharp intellect, insider knowledge, and unethical ambition all at once. Dr. Hostin's alleged role was more direct than someone who just signed off on suspect paperwork. According to the authorities, he had personally approved inflated costs for surgeries and used complicated billing codes that tricked insurance companies into making large payouts. Supposedly, this was no small-time scheme that netted only a bit of money. It was said to involve millions of dollars, and federal agencies took the matter so seriously that they formed a task force to investigate every single detail. The mention of the RICO Act, Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, sent a chill through anyone following the case. This act is usually reserved for organized crime rings. Seeing a highly respected doctor named in such a major RICO case was practically unheard of in mainstream conversation. Moreover, The presence of other doctors and medical staff in these legal documents implied that Dr. Hostin was not the only big fish. Some believed the entire scheme functioned like a pipeline, where patient files were transformed into revenue streams through systematic falsification. Investigators hinted at hidden bank accounts, hush money, and secret collaborations that spelled big trouble for anyone involved. Sunny Hostin did not remain silent. Even though she was not formally charged, her name popped up in discussions about whether she had any knowledge of her husband's operations or the intricate financial dealings. She had always been known for her strong moral compass, which made it even more surprising to wonder if she might have overlooked certain activities or if she really was in the dark. Observers speculated about the possibility of her discovering suspicious documents or overhearing phone calls that raised red flags. The public hunger for details grew stronger every day, with many suspecting there was more to the story than labs and hospitals. The scale was so huge that insurance companies themselves jumped into the legal fray. They spoke out about how rampant fraud drives up healthcare costs for regular people, cuts into essential resources, and undermines trust in the system. They were eager to see individuals held responsible for such stunts. Some in the insurance world insisted that this was a long time coming, suggesting they had known for years that certain figures in the medical community were defrauding these companies with over-the-top claims. Dr. Hostin's name had crossed their radar, apparently more than once, but only now did the puzzle begin to reveal a bigger picture. Sunny Hostin's struggle under the bright lights. Sunny Hostin, famous for her strong legal mind and compelling presence on daytime television, faced a very different spotlight than she was used to. She had specialized in prosecuting criminals, analyzing complicated legal angles, and giving her straightforward opinions on major controversies. But this time, the controversy was personal. It tore through her household and threatened the values she had carefully shaped in the public eye. Her regular appearances on The View usually involved her dissecting political drama, social justice topics, and global events that captured public attention. She was often the one who reminded everyone about the rule of law and the significance of proper evidence before declaring guilt or innocence. Now, the irony was heavy. Did she feel that same caution applied to her husband, or did she think the facts were so powerful that they alone told the story? Sunny was no stranger to critics. As a public figure, she had encountered backlash in social media storms, disliked for her forthright approach. However, those earlier episodes seemed easy compared to the intensity that accompanied this fraud scandal. People online demanded answers. Viewers of The View took sides, some urging the show to remove her, claiming she was compromised in her integrity. Others supported her wholeheartedly, convinced that no matter what happened, her loyalty was understandable. Trying to hold everything together seemed like a heavy emotional load. Day after day, Sunny had to keep up with the show's demands, turning up on set to discuss the latest news headlines. Meanwhile, her personal life threatened to overshadow her professional identity. Colleagues on the show avoided pressing too hard into her family's drama, at least on air. Yet the tension was tangible. No one could pretend that their co-host wasn't in the eye of one of the biggest legal storms to hit daytime TV in years. Her frustration with the tabloids became obvious. She expressed that she was outraged by the invasion into her family's life. There were rumors that she was furious at certain headlines that questioned her moral stance, especially since she had cultivated an image of honesty and accountability. Many fans wondered if she would step away from the public stage for a while, giving both her family and the case space to play out. But Sunny Hostin did not back down so easily. She had spent her entire career fighting for justice, and she wasn't about to let the storm force her into hiding. The media's frenzied parade. From the moment the story broke, the media threw itself into every possible angle. Tabloids, mainstream networks, local stations, gossip websites. There was no shortage of coverage. Opinions splintered into every direction. Some articles provided dry timelines and bits of legal detail, trying to give the facts of the case. Others splashed giant photos of Sunny and Emmanuel on glamorous vacations, next to bold headlines about fraud and rip-offs, hoping to incite shock in their readers. Commentators in the entertainment world analyzed the scandal's effect on The View, treating it as an unstoppable train wreck that might destroy Sunny's image. Meanwhile, legal experts in the news dissected the charges brought against Dr. Hostin. They stated that participating in a federal RICO case was no small matter. Whether or not Dr. Hostin had a large or small role, the mere mention of racketeering charges indicated serious wrongdoing. Many of them believed the prosecutors wouldn't walk away from this. Some guessed there was a mountain of evidence that would tie Dr. Hostin to illegal billing practices. Others suggested that the government's star witness might be close associates of Emmanuel who decided to flip to save themselves. The coverage had a tabloid feel, even on networks that normally played it more conservatively. People saw up-close photos of the Hostins' home, shots of them picking up their kids from school, and any other detail that might keep the story alive. Some media outlets dug into Emmanuel's philanthropic activities, hinting that they might have been a cover for less noble actions. Others took a closer look at Sunny's early days as a prosecutor, wondering if she had made enemies who were now feasting on her personal misery. The aggregated noise was too loud to escape. It spilled onto social media, with hashtags popping up and fans either defending the Hostins or demanding that Sunny resign from her TV role. Memes spread far and wide, poking fun at the mismatch between Sunny's usual moral high ground and her quiet acceptance of her husband's alleged misdeeds. There were heated arguments on Twitter and Instagram where supporters said she had every right to stand by him, while critics believed she was covering for a criminal. A lot of viewers were glued to their screens for daily updates. Some claimed that every new detail turned up the intensity, especially when talk overshadowed whatever other topics were running in the news cycle. The debate took on a life of its own, overshadowing even the real story of insurance fraud. It was no longer just about whether Emmanuel Hostin did or did not do something illegal. Instead, it became a question of how well Sunny Hostin handled the blow and whether she could continue her role as a daytime TV co-host.